Broadcasting from Millvale Studios, you're listening to Funny Money on the River's Edge Network. I'm your host, Tom Henry, and with me, as always, is our other host, Matt Wolfarth. How's it going, Matt?
I'm doing good, Tom. How about yourself? I called it Franken Funny on the Poe.
Yeah, I know.
Like
I
we were
that.
talking about. That was actually good, Frankenstein. We'll do that for Halloween.
It was good, right off the top of your head, Franken Funny.
Franken, we are Franken Funny.
I wouldn't want to neglect that we're also here with our producer, Brian Crawford.
Brian.
Yes.
We have an intern. We're moving on up.
Our new friend, James. Yeah.
Looks like Jesus.
Who looks like Jesus because you can't see him, but it's a pretty apt description.
No, yeah.
Sans beard, though, right?
Yeah, sans beard.
Yeah. Looked like
everybody
a
else
clean-shaven Jesus.
Yeah, but everybody else has a beard in the world, but Jesus doesn't. He always is different.
Right, yeah, he was different. Okay, so we're going to talk about Eli.
Well, number one, I want to give a shout-out to the fire victims in Millvale this week. We had a big fire.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
So hopefully everybody's all right. But now tell me what we're going to
You know, they're having a crazy oil sands fire up in Canada, too.
I performed
really
there in Fort McMurray.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's nuts.
But so, yeah, today we're talking about pharmaceuticals. And we've talked about pharmaceuticals before, but we're going to do 3 different companies because there are so many, you know.
There are. It's a huge
It's
field.
a very important sector to address.
One good product. You're living large.
Yeah.
How many years?
That's the idea with those tiny pharmaceuticals.
Yep.
You know, there are so many acquisitions of tiny pharmaceutical companies that just have one drug that they created, you know, and a lot of those acquisitions cause the stock price to jump up of the little tiny pharmaceutical companies.
On speculation?
And a lot of insider trading is based around pharmaceutical companies because of that effect.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. So do people go to the big house for that?
Yeah, yeah. There was a case in 2014 that was very big. Damn, if I can't remember the guy's name. But it
Johnson?
No.
Johnson versus Johnson?
No, it was an Indian guy, a guy of Indian descent, and he had these friends who were getting information from him or for him from like various sources,
like FDA or something, or
no, they were company insiders. Like
okay.
He knew this guy named Gupta who was on Goldman Sachs board, and they made acquisitions in it. And then there was this lady involved in the scheme too, and she would I think she would seduce information from healthcare executives.
We better be sure of that.
Well, there's a lot pointing to that. But
sounds like a sexy controversy.
Let's talk about the first on our docket, and that's Eli Lilly.
I heard of Eli Lilly.
Right. Well, you might not have heard. You heard of the company, but you might not have heard of the dude, Eli Lilly.
No.
Okay, Eli Lilly. Story. It was actually Colonel Eli Lilly. Eli Lilly. He was born in the 1830s, and he lived in Indianapolis. I think he was born in Baltimore, but moved to Indianapolis.
God's country.
And, got married there. And he was a pharmacist, right? Okay. And then he enlisted in the Union Army. He was 30 years old. And this was during the Civil War.
Okay.
Okay. And it was like he was really enthusiastic about joining the Union. And so he, really aggressively went out in Indianapolis and recruited his friends and classmates and everyone he could.
What, to join the army?
Pressure to join the army, but not only join the army, join his unit. They were forming a unit in Indianapolis.
He wanted his own unit.
Yeah,
Wow.
and
I heard of the buddy system,
but he did such a good marketing campaign. He did it. He created the 18th Battery Indiana Light Artillery.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
And he got 6 artillery pieces and 150 men.
Wow.
So
this might be again, all these stories.
He didn't have any
stories are great.
He didn't have any military experience to speak of, but he was able to raise this battalion.
We have men.
And so
how big is a battalion?
This one had 150 men but I normally think of them as a little bigger than that.
Yeah, I thought it would be
But I think there's a range, how big they can be.
A very small battalion.
But
But damn it, he
So
did
the battalion elected him to be the leader. I mean, he was the guy who recruited them. He elected them to be the leader, or they elected him. And a lot of them were dubious about it because he had no military experience. But it turned out that he was a good leader, and that they were instrumental in winning several battles in the Civil War. You know, mostly fought like in the middle South, kind of. You know, like
probably like northern Alabama.
Well, until
Tennessee.
In 1864, you know, toward the end of the war, they were down in Mississippi, and he got captured, and they put him in a prison camp, and those were horrible. You know, like during the Civil War, Confederate prison camp.
Oh yeah, probably not really.
Well, a lot of the times,
not a 4-star rating.
Yeah, there's one that has a really
not
bad
even a
reputation.
continental breakfast.
They didn't feed you too well was the main thing, you know. And you know it was really bad. I forget what the one was called, somethingville, Andersonville. Yeah,
I'm gonna look.
It was like a horrible prison, but he wasn't there. He was at another prison in Mississippi, but I'm sure that was bad too. So when he returned at the end of the war, he was made a colonel, like kind of an honorary recognition of his service.
That's
you know,
a pretty high honor, right?
It is big, yeah. He was already a major at that point, so you know it's just like one big promotion up. Yeah, but they weren't, you know, he wasn't in the Army anymore at that point. He was not allowed to enlist again.
Oh, he wasn't?
No. You know, I think that's because the war was over and they just didn't need that many.
We don't need any.
Yeah.
you build a conglomerate.
So what he did was right after the war, you know, after being in Mississippi in the prison camp and like experiencing Mississippi for a while, he decided to take his wife and kid and go back to Mississippi from Indianapolis.
Oh, wow.
So instead of like hating the place where you were a prisoner in a prison camp, he decided to embrace it and become a plantation owner of a cotton plantation in Mississippi.
Wait a minute, I'm confused. Slave free, right? Like,
slaves were free at that point, but they were still working there but they would get wages, right?
Yeah.
All right. At any rate, his wife got sick while they were down there with malaria.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and which was actually kind of common in the South at that time. And she died. And, you know, he felt a duty to take her body back to her family in Indianapolis. So he did that, and while he was doing that, the plantation failed because they missed the crop season.
Oh, well, it's a long trip.
It was a bad crop, yeah. And the guy who was running it didn't do a good job. So the net result was that he had to go file for bankruptcy, personal bankruptcy.
Holy smoke!
Yeah,
these stories get better every week. This is actually like my new favorite part of the show.
So this poor guy. Okay, so he had to declare bankruptcy in 1868. You know, not long after the Civil War, and so then he had to go back to Indianapolis, and then. He got a friend to go in with him and buy a drugstore in Illinois. Okay, so they bought a drugstore there, and it did well. He was a good pharmacist, apparently.
Yeah.
But
now, was pharmacist different back then than it was now, like than it is now, based on the fact that you kind of whip stuff up in a back room, like, or did you have all of your medications like you do now?
My understanding, I'm not really an expert in that.
I got an affirmation from
Brian.
But
my understanding is, yes, there was a lot of
whipping stuff
mixology right, involved in the actual procuring of pharmaceuticals that isn't involved now.
Okay,
yeah.
So you had to...
you had to have more skills. And this guy was obviously a people person. I mean, he got 150 people to go fight in the Army under his command, right?
Yeah, I can't even get 2 people to come to my comedy show so I can get 5 minutes of stage
yeah.
time.
So
right? Like
this guy had some good skills.
That was like the ultimate bringer show.
Right. Yeah, I know. If you can get people to do that, put their life on the line. It's pretty impressive. So
he would have packed out the Improv on a Thursday.
He was good. So you figure, this guy's got natural salesmanship and he's got a bent for chemistry.
Correct.
So
good combination.
Right. And he also was really interested in making drugs. It wasn't just like, okay, yeah, come to the pharmacy and we'll mix things and we'll give you your prescription.
Here's your leeches.
Right. Whatever it was back then. But
they had leeches back then.
They did leech people up until, like 1910 or so, I think. Yeah. But so...
how do you know that? Like till 1910 or so.
Well, it's for reading.
I used to get girls till 1910 or so. I used to have girls give me booty calls till 1910 or so. Go ahead.
All right. I kind of believe that.
I believe it too. It sounded great. I'm glad they turned the heat up in the place.
Well, the drugstore was profitable enough that it allowed him to fund his
R&D department
ambition, which was to open up a drug manufacturing business. Okay. And that manufacturing business did well right away. And they opened it up back in Indianapolis. It did well right away. He had a little touch, one thing.
His base people trusted him, right?
Well, that's not only that. His motto was ethical prescriptions, and he would put the ingredients on whatever you received on a label on the back, and no one else did that at the time, hardly.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So he's marketing himself as
he was a man ahead
the
of
good,
his,
fair
much
guy,
ahead of his
right?
Time. He might have been 100 years ahead of his time.
And it was effective, even though they didn't come up with any good drugs right away.
Did he come up with anything?
The selling, not right away. At first, they were making other people's drugs. All right, and then, but then they did come up with something in the 1880s. He and his son, he had one son who died with the mother of malaria, but another son, the survivor, was a very, very good student in chemistry and also became a pharmacological student and worked for him then. And the son was instrumental in coming up with this drug, and the drug was a venereal disease treatment.
Wow, and that was so important back then because literally I read about Lewis and Clark, and they hiked from Pittsburgh to Seattle, and half of them had syphilis. I wouldn't even be able to walk to, I got to be honest, I probably wouldn't even be able to go to Lincoln Bakery if I had syphilis.
I'm not even, why? What are the symptoms of
I don't know.
syphilis?
Frequency of urination, I think.
Okay.
That's what
How
I heard.
is that are you gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna piss myself on the way to the bakery?
I can just tell you, I don't know what
You're
happened.
like, oh no, this is so embarrassing.
It wouldn't
you just wear a diaper, right?
You wear a diaper? No, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I don't know all the things either, but yeah, I guess those girls got around. What was going on?
Syphilis killed Capone, right? Syphilis killed Capone, made him.
Yeah,
go
but
crazy.
weren't Lewis and Clark sleeping with Indian girls all the time?
No, they were sleeping with each other, I'm sure, but right. They had a dog named Seaman.
Win in Sparta.
Their dog's name was Seaman. Dearest Lewis, can't wait to get you in the woods with 20 strapping young boys and a dog named Seaman.
Well, we talked about peeing in the shower at length on River Talk this past Monday, and I feel like that might be one of the few exceptions to pee in the shower.
Yeah, you should pee in a shower. How is she supposed to get the hair off the soap?
Ugh.
I'm sorry. That was one of my first jokes I ever wrote. I'm sorry. My agent would call me, goes, Matt, he goes, I'll book you based on the fact that you don't do the peeing on the soap joke.
All right, we're going back to Eli Lilly now.
Sorry. No, all right. So what was the venereal disease drug?
The drug?
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but
it was called a wooden hammer.
It treated all venereal diseases.
Wow.
So it must be like some kind of general pain reliever or something that they thought was a breakthrough.
Did it have cocaine in it?
Whatever.
Because everything had cocaine in it.
I don't know what it was, but whatever it was, it did. It caused them to get a lot of sales. So they really got big then. Then they started to expand. And if you look at them now, and you look at their history,
this was in Indianapolis or Illinois?
Indianapolis. They opened that drugstore in Illinois, but Indianapolis is where they started the actual company.
Okay.
And if you look at like their history, it's pretty amazing. They were the first company to mass produce penicillin. They were the first company to mass produce insulin.
Oh my goodness.
Now, if you look at what they have, they are the world's leader in psychiatric medications. Okay, they have the most.
We might need samples for this show.
It's very good. I mean, you know that psychiatric medications are a pretty big seller these days.
They are. Everybody's on something.
Yeah. So, looking at their pipeline, I would say, okay, notable in their pipeline.
Can you explain pipeline before, just so our average Joes out there would understand what a pipeline is?
Every drug company has what they call a pipeline, and that is all the drugs that are under development. And when you're investing in a drug company, it's essential to look at that. You need to know, what's likely to start generating money for me in the future, start generating revenues. Are these drugs likely to get passed by the FDA? Are they likely to be big sellers?
Correct.
Those are good questions.
And there's like 3 phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and then there's some middle.
Phase 3 is the best. That's the closest to going on the market. Those are going through FDA trials.
Yeah.
Now,
what's it mean when it says submitted?
When that just means that it's been submitted.
It went past phase 3 and then went to submitted. So it's.
Do you mean No, what do you mean? Give me the exact situation.
I saw it on a site. It said phase 3 and then submitted. The other ones just said phase 3. So I'm assuming that went through phase 3.
That it's submitted for
approval.
For approval. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, So in their pipeline.
Yes.
But let me tell you about another thing that's important. You want to balance the pipeline out with the drugs that they already have, and look at when those drugs are going to expire.
Yeah, how long do they have on that? 18 years, or what is
that? Well, it depends. The normal thing is 15 years, but you can almost always extend that to about 20 years.
Oh, you can?
By just like changing a couple things in your application on the drug, like if you want to change it so that it's a slow release or something, and that causes them to
give you an extension.
Give you a little extension, so that you can kind of experiment with what's the best form in which to take the drug. Theoretically.
Yeah, and it buys you time, but that's important to have that 20-year head start.
Oh, yeah. Otherwise, no one would have the incentive to develop these drugs.
When do other companies look to start making that drug, like as a generic? Like probably as soon as it's successful?
When do they start looking to make it as a generic? No. About like 3 years before it comes off patent.
Okay.
So, a firm like Teva Pharmaceuticals or Mylan would make the knockoff. Well, so in this particular pipeline, one they have that's notable is an Alzheimer's drug called
can't remember it.
Solanezumab.
Everything ends with aluminum.
I know.
What is it? How do you say it?
I don't know. Solanezumab.
Wow, that was really good. Check out the big brain on Tom.
Oh yeah, right. I'm probably pronounced it. It's probably like Solanezumab.
Enzumab, whatever that is, that's in a lot of stuff.
Now the thing about this Alzheimer's drug
is a biologic.
It could be a huge hit. I mean, an Alzheimer's drug that actually worked, that was preventative, in terms of like preventing the progress of the disease.
Correct.
Would be fantastic.
And I'm not making light of it. And let me just tell you that Alzheimer's is very tragic to watch someone with Alzheimer's.
And it's extremely widespread. There are,
especially in Washington D.C.
I'm
sorry, I was going for a joke there. That was a bad joke. They forget all their promises they made to us when they were running.
Everyone's forgetful except for the IRS.
Yeah. Whatever they're taking, we need to get more of that.
Yeah. So, but it's still a long shot. We're still talking phase 2, and it's got a long way to go. And the other drugs that have come out for Alzheimer's before this, have often been met with a lot of fanfare, but little effect in reality.
Okay.
So, otherwise, the pipeline is pretty weak. Yeah.
Their pipeline's weak. Right?
Yeah.
So let's figure that out. We're gonna say pipeline weak, average, or strong. That'll be.
I would say weak.
Weak. Okay.
All right. So, their main drugs are for diabetes and oncology, as it stands
Well, diabetes is good.
now. But as I mentioned,
I don't mean it's good. I meant like there's a lot of people that have it. Like I mean, I didn't mean
Right,
it that
right.
way.
No,
That's
I
gonna
know
come
what you
across.
You mean
diabetes.
No, I'm not pro diabetes. I'm just saying a lot of people have it. Type 2, type 1.
Yeah, it's good for
Type
being
7.
a capitalist predator. You want like more people on that so you can sell them more drugs. No, I see where you're coming from. So okay, yeah. This they sell into those markets, but they also sell into the psychiatric drug market too, big time. All right, so the PE on this company is 35.45. They've got a dividend of 2.67%.
That's good.
Yeah, it's decent. They've got a return on invested capital of 11.13%. So you're paying quite a premium for them, in my opinion.
Correct.
Net debt to equity is 33%, which is good. That's in a safe range. And earnings are expected to increase 3.8% this year. And, it looks like for the next few years, a similar trajectory of low growth.
3 to 4%.
So, I'm sure that you wouldn't be surprised to learn, given what I just read, that this company is too expensive for me.
Too expensive, yes.
The PE of 35.45 being that much over the return on invested capital indicates to me that you're overpaying for sort of an average management.
Gotcha.
But of course there could be exceptions if they had like some kind of great pipeline.
Or if
that
one
would
of
be
those drugs comes through with promise.
I will say that they do have a good hold on their existing drugs. Those will still be around, making good money in the 2020s. So they don't have much coming off market, in other words.
So yeah, if it comes down or it gets dinged, then it would have to come down quite a bit, though.
It would definitely have to come down quite a bit. I'd want to see the PE much more in line with the ROIC. So
now, do they get a bump in the ROIC based on low net to debt equity ratio?
Yes, they do. That's a good point. Because the debt is low, the return, and that's part of the invested capital.
Okay.
Then the return is magnified because the debt is low.
So it would have to come down like 15 or something, right?
What? Well, I'm not like worried about the debt at all.
Yeah, it's not close right now.
I want them to get their earnings up. That's the main thing. But it doesn't look like they're going to grow into that valuation anytime soon.
Good.
So
next,
stay away from that one. All right, but before we go next, I want to take a break so we can have a few words for promos.
Yes.
All right, here we go.
I always forget our
But
promos.
we'll come back on to talk about Abbott Labs.
Cool.
In a
Look
minute.
forward to it.
Bye.
Hey, this is Matt Geica, the host of your alternative sports talk program on the River's Edge. It's called Geics Got Game, and it's every Friday at 7 a.m. I'll give you a peek behind the sports media curtain, zoom out for the big picture, and always obsess over the details of the games, teams, and players we love or love to hate. That's Geics Got Game, every Friday at 7 on the River's Edge.
Okay, now we are back.
Shortest break ever.
Good to be here. So our next topic is Abbott Labs. Okay?
Hey, yeah, bud. I'm sorry.
Now this company is a little different
was stupid.
than the others. You're doing Abbott and Costello.
Yeah.
but-
Who's on first?
I don't know. So Costello
I didn't
is
mean to
big. Abbott was a skinny dude,
Yeah,
right?
Abbott was the skinny.
All right.
And Costello was the heavier one.
Yeah, let's not.
Lou Costello.
And Costello would be like the guy who talked all the time, right?
Correct.
Yeah. All right. So
Like you're the tall one and I'm the fat one.
okay. So you're the one who talks all the time.
Yeah. I guess, apparently.
I'll take that. You're not. Oh, please. Come on, you're not fat. All right, let's talk about Abbott. So Wallace C. Abbott was a graduate of University of Michigan, and he founded the Abbott Alkaloid Company in 1888. And he did this because he was, as an active experimenter, as well as a doctor and drugstore owner, there's a little theme here, he figured out how to take the active part of a medicinal plant and to form it in what he called dosimetric granules.
Isn't that called pot smoker?
It's so
like the active ingredient in a plant, dude. That's
right. A lot of these guys.
What's it called?
I mean, in my estimation, like, you know, one of these two guys would have been working on weed if they were around today. Correct. You know,
that was the one thing I had. Did you ever wonder if like the active ingredients or the inactive ingredients get pissed off the active ingredients for getting all the press? Like the inactive ingredients are like, oh, sodium fluoride.
I don't think they get all worked up.
Like, you think they're upset? Like,
no, because they're inactive. They're
inactive.
Don't worry about it.
No, I think they get pissed.
Chill out.
Well, sodium fluoride, you ain't nothing with cocamide maya, yellow number 5, and xanthan gum.
I'm active.
You're active. I want to be active.
If you're inactive, it's
on a line by itself. Laid back.
All right, so he took the active part of the medicinal plant, okay, and made it into these like doses that were much more precise than they were able to do before.
You know what? I'm enamored of pharmacy now. Like, it's really cool.
Well, so this proper dosage selling of, you know, like, instead of like having this bar that you would have to break up into all these little things, you know, and like then you take like one that's like twice as big as the other one, and you know, these were all broken up into the correct dosages. So naturally, being the first one to be able to do that was a huge advantage, and it was a big hit right away. So the company expanded, and it expanded pretty quickly. So it was founded in 1888, and it did so well. I think they had, in 1907, they opened up their first foreign office in London. And then by, you know, so a lot of people who created drugs would have them manufacture the drugs because they were able to do it right, you know.
Correct.
And so they got tons of business from that.
A lot of private labeling.
So in 1948, they did something interesting and expanded into Pakistan. And they built 2 manufacturing facilities there. I don't know how familiar you are with like
Pakistan,
India historically, but Pakistan broke off from India.
I know they had a war.
Right.
Kind of.
They broke off. They're like a Muslim dominated area, and India is a Hindu dominated country.
Wow.
Right.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that was the reason.
Well, yeah,
now I know.
That's typically a reason for anything in that part of the world. You know, like Pakistan being close to the Middle East. So, it was kind of fresh off a serious conflict, but they opened 2 manufacturing facilities there in 1948. Those are still currently in use.
That's crazy. Like, that was before anybody ever thought of like producing stuff.
I know, it's interesting, but they were able to get low cost labor, you know, and that was huge. That's that's the same thing we're looking at today with China and now Vietnam and other places in the world too. So Abbott is currently, because of the proximity of the my mic keeps dropping down. It just doesn't. Okay. All right, cool. Because of the proximity.
Because of proximity of mic to your eyeball.
I know, exactly. The mic is going around like crazy.
Look, it's blasting you. Mike's gone wild. Next on
All right, so
Funny Money.
Because of the proximity of the plants in Pakistan to India, they were able to access a very large market of consumers early on. And they are today still the largest healthcare products company in India. So as well as pharmaceuticals, They also sell medical devices and nutritional products, including the drink Ensure.
Yeah,
Right.
what's up with Ensure? Is that like a protein drink for old people?
I thought you could tell us about it.
I should go try it. I definitely should have Ensure. Like I should invite a girl over. Hey,
Did they have
you
it
want to
in
come to
19
my house and have vodka and Ensure?
It's sexy.
Is that a pickup line that
How
might
can
work?
you?
Here, let me
could
take your
anyone
walker
resist?
for you. Let me go. Take the tennis
All right.
balls off your walker.
But this is the thing. Okay,
I'm sorry.
this is the thing. Abbott.
Here's the thing.
All right, Abbott spun off most of its pharmaceutical business in 2013 into a company they decided to call AbbVie. Okay, and I thought it was very interesting when it happened.
Is it ABV?
And actually,
what is our
I bought
symbols?
Abbott Lab at the symbol. By the way, I don't own any of these companies, but I have owned them in the past.
Okay, full disclosure.
Okay, the
I have not owned
symbol
anything.
is ABT for Abbott Labs. Okay, now Abbott spun off most of its pharmaceutical company business into this company AbbVie, and that was sort of the idea was because pharmaceuticals are a risky business. You know, it's like a hit or miss. I'm going to invest so much money into developing this drug, may get nothing from it. You know, in fact, probably will get nothing from it.
Yeah, I just read about, one of our other people invested, like, it's billions. Like, they
Right.
invest billions into developing drugs.
But, you know, investors prefer something steady that's going to just like constantly make you money. So Abbott sort of veered into going into like healthcare products more. So they now, you know, have like a lot of vaccines and diagnosis business.
Do they have pain patches? I think they have pain patches.
That
maybe,
could be.
Maybe not.
All right. So they also, along the same lines, they recently announced a $25 billion offer to buy St. Jude Medical.
Which
Right.
we talked about, and
Right.
I was inside that facility, and it's amazing.
Now,
The people there are phenomenally smart.
St. Jude is a medical device maker, you know,
Yep.
primarily like stents and defibrillators. So that would be making a major step into that field because they're a big company, actually a larger company than Abbott. But that doesn't mean they can't be acquired by Abbott.
Does that happen quite a bit, Tom? Like the smaller animal?
No.
grabs- No.
But it happens.
What would be the incentive?
The incentive is if the two companies combined have a lot of synergies, you know, and
Does
therefore
that ever happen?
yeah,
Synergies.
it does happen, but less than reported.
Yes.
Yeah. So the PE for this company, Abbott, is 23.65. The dividend is 2.74%.
A little better.
Return on invested capital, 10%. Net debt to equity, 13.5%. Very healthy. Expected growth this year is 2.8%.
Yaksa.
Kind of lackluster.
Yes.
So, you know,
Based on
all
these
told,
numbers.
okay. Now, right, all right. But also the fact that this is not going to hit a home run. You know, if you're trying to swing for the fences, don't buy this company.
Yep.
If you want to grind forward, you might want to buy this company. But even if you did want to, I would say this is overpriced because the PE is more than twice as much as the ROIC. The debt is really nice and low, and you get an okay dividend, but that's not enough to compensate. And the growth is totally unremarkable. And it looks like that going forward into the years. So I don't like it. It's too expensive.
Nothing special.
Yeah,
I hope we find one we like. Do you think we
I
might?
know. We're going to have to keep searching. We'll continue on this
This is
hunt.
a hard hunt. We only have like 7 or 8 so far.
Well,
But that's good. That means we're not lying to you.
the one company left in our bucket to look at is
Tell me it's a good one. Tell me something
Glakso
good.
Smith Kline. All right.
Glaxo.
Yeah, Glakso.
Do we
But
need to take another break?
before we do that, we're just going to take a brief break
Yeah, we need a breather.
for promo.
Back with Glaxo.
Get your weekly weather forecast every Monday morning on River Talk at 6 a.m. with me, meteorologist Heather Nevels, broadcasting from Millville Studios on the River's Edge Radio Network.
Okay, here we are. Now, Glakso Smith Kline is our next company on the docket. And this is an interesting one. Let me tell you about this. This is different because it's not an American company. Glakso was founded in the 1850s in Bunnythorpe, New Zealand.
Down under. Hey,
Right.
made a Vegemite sandwich. That's
That's
all I
Australia.
got for you.
Oh,
really? There's no Vegemite in New Zealand?
None at all.
Wow.
No, I don't know. I'm sure. Isn't it like everything's the
I
same?
think they stopped making it about 1910 or so.
Well, now, all right.
That was a callback.
Bunnythorpe, New Zealand is not a megalopolis, as you might have gathered.
Sounds like a great place, though.
Yeah, I know. But it was and still is a small village surrounded by dairy farms and cows everywhere. All right. So,
Methane gas capital of the world.
so this guy who lived there, his name was Joe Nathan. He's originally from London.
Not to be confused with Joe Namath.
No. And not to be confused with Nathan's hot dogs.
Which are pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Can we get them as a sponsor, Brian?
I don't know how good they're doing. They just closed the downtown location.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, there's actually a lot of hot dog competition these days.
Yeah.
Burger King came out with hot dogs. Did you see that?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's got to be a bad hot dog.
Yeah.
Like, we're
Burger King.
swinging. We're going into burgers. Like, we're going to flip.
But
Burger King should just cook outside.
You know
right?
what?
Like, at this point.
I think Nathan's, from what I understand, like my dad grew up in New York City and he knew like the original Nathan's. Like it was like a hot dog stand that everyone would go to and it was like amazing.
Was your
according to
dad
him.
a hot dog person? Did he like hot dogs?
Yeah. So, but he says now that they've made it into a big chain, it's the quality is so much lower. It's
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, just one corporate. Like Wendy's with their quarter-pound burgers that are an eighth of a pound now. Remember how big they used to be? Like,
Yeah.
now they're just small patties.
Yeah, what happened to Where's the Beef? Wasn't that their marketing slogan?
They forgot it. They forgot what brought them all
where
that
is
money.
the beef?
I'm still bitter with Franctuary. They left their actual sanctuary location.
Oh, really? Downtown?
Yeah, the one that was underneath the church. Yeah, they abandoned underneath the church their roots to put one up at
Just be in
Market Square.
Lawrenceville. Oh,
they
in
have one in
Market-
Market Square as well.
Is
Yeah,
Franctuary pretty good?
I like it. Yeah. However, the one I like the one downtown better than the one in Lawrenceville, only because the one in Lawrenceville. No, actually, I have to retract that because they've started to change their ways again. But for a while, they were very vegan. And I go to a hot dog place, to get meat.
Yeah.
That comes back to marketing,
vegan's
folks.
no good.
Hey, we're going to do what nobody else is doing. We're going to sell hot dogs at a vegan place.
Yes.
But they do have, like, all that vegan stuff has, like, names that would be indicative of something in the meat eater's world. Like, they have vegetarian meatloaf. They have vegetarian meatballs. Just call it non-meatball.
Some of the names are terrible.
Do you know what I mean? Like they're like.
I just saw the one.
Wouldn't you be confused as a consumer? Like, wait a minute, I'm a vegan, but you're giving me a meatball? Like,
Yeah.
Well, yesterday I was like, I saw this girl who I know is a vegan, and I was like, what is that you're eating in that quesadilla? Because it just looks like meat. And she goes, it's feet. I'm like, what?
It's feet.
That's fake meat. I call it
feet.
feet.
Oh, that's
I'm like,
appetizing.
yeah, that's a great
Wow.
slogan. Wow, you nailed something there with that one's a home run. Everyone wants to eat fake meat. Feet.
Feet. Yeah. Fake meat. Oh my God, that's so bad.
Wow.
All right.
Put that in your act. That's really good.
So talking about Glakso. All right. So it's this little village in the middle of all these cow farms. And, this guy runs a general store there. All right. So he's got this general store. And until 1904, surrounded by cows, he had the idea to make dried milk baby food. Okay.
Wow.
He's going to take some of that milk. They're like swimming in milk where he is.
Yeah.
So what can they do? The baby food was simply called Glakso and was marketed under the slogan, Glakso builds Bonnie babies.
All right.
Are you familiar with that term, Bonnie?
No, what does it mean?
Attractive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've never heard it in my life.
It's a...
I was an ugly baby. I cracked my crib mirror.
It's like a British-ism. All right.
Bonnie, I do.
Yeah, you're Bonnie Lass.
Yeah, Bonnie Lass. Oh, that's what that means. Right?
Bonnie Lass. It's a hot babe.
It's hot in here.
All right.
Am I ovulating?
It is hot in here now. What did you ask?
I said, is it hot in here? Am I ovulating?
That's what I thought you said.
I got to talk to my gynecologist about that.
So, Glakso, they called it Glakso Laboratories, the thing that makes this dried baby food called Glakso, which sounds
It's a
delicious.
good name.
Glakso. So, they call it, I don't know how they came up with the name. I couldn't find anything on it.
I don't know.
It's like
guessing.
Glakso.
It's a combination of a glue and
They had
axe.
you had another name
Glue
before
axe.
it. It was funny. The other name was like it was like too strong. It was like Destination or Destiny.
Destiny.
Yeah, for like the baby food. Yeah. It was like really strong.
Greek god builder.
So, okay.
Atlas 101.
So Glakso, after having some success selling this dried baby food, they moved from Main Street, Bunnythorpe, right into the heart of London in 1935.
That's a big commute.
Yeah, it is. And a big, drastic change, You should see the place. I saw a picture of the place where they originally were manufacturing. Now it's like a gas station.
Is it?
Yeah. So they bought. So in 1935 they were in London, and then they became a force in the European pharmaceuticals market, making 2 British acquisitions. They diversified their portfolio from baby food to lots of different pharmaceuticals.
Was Smith involved?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I'm not going to get into all of that. If I were to, those were companies that were merged into Glakso. Smith Kline, Beecham was actually all one.
Oh, yeah, and then Beecham left. What happened there?
They just dropped the name off. It didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So they made those 2 acquisitions, and then in 1978, they bought an American pharmaceutical company.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, they became a significant player in the U.S. market. And that was the biggest
They have a huge
market.
presence in Pittsburgh right now, don't they? I mean, they have a pretty big office.
Well, I mean, their drugs are everywhere here. They have a lot of drugs that are extremely popular.
Do a lot
Name
with
one.
toothpaste.
Huh?
They do a lot with toothpaste.
In fact, they have Aquafresh.
Yes.
Their brand.
Aquafresh is a good brand.
Right. I think so. I use Colgate, but whatever. So
I applied to Colgate, the school, but I didn't get in because I had a cavity.
Oh.
I'm sorry, that's bad.
So this is important. That last fall, Glakso swapped its oncology portfolio. If you don't know, oncology is cancer.
Cancer drugs.
Yeah, cancer drugs portfolio with Novartis for their vaccines and consumer healthcare business. So, like Abbott, they're trying to get more into like the parts of the healthcare products business that produce steady income rather than a drug, which is a long shot. All right, so they're trying to do that.
They want to diversify,
but
right?
they're not as much into that as Abbott. In fact, drugs still make up 57% of their revenue, and so consumer healthcare is 28%, and that includes Aquafresh. Vaccines are 14% of revenue.
Vaccines are growing right now, don't you think?
Yeah, in fact, Glakso made a nice deal with the British government to sell what vaccine was it? Meningitis vaccine that they have.
Yeah, and I think the cancer research is leaning in that direction, a vaccine for cancer.
Wow, that would be good.
Yeah.
If it worked. So
they had favorable results at Pitt.
This is what I like. This is a really good sign about Glakso's pipeline, and that is that new drugs this year, 2016, new drugs that came out in 2016, in the first quarter, they contributed over $1 billion to revenue.
Holy smokes.
Which is really significant. Compared to last year, that number was only $400 million. So they're more than double. And that says a lot about the drugs that are just coming out of the pipeline.
And they have a lot. I looked at their pipeline. They have a lot in stage 3.
I like the pipeline a lot.
Yes.
It's too much to go over every drug, but if you look at their top selling drugs, you'll see their respiratory drugs. But if you look at, and that made up about
Do they do all the asthma stuff? Are they the
1.4 billion pounds of revenue in the first quarter for respiratory.
Wow.
But if you look at the fastest, and that's the biggest segment, if you look at the fastest growing segment, it's HIV drugs. And that did about 740 million pounds, so about half as much in the first quarter. But that's up quarter on quarter 57 million pounds.
Wow.
So
is HIV back?
HIV is
never went away, right?
right. It's still hanging in there.
But people don't talk about it anymore.
Well, it's not as. I mean, people thought that it was going to be like end of the world type of
Now it's manageable.
plague, and it seems like these drugs have made it so people can live with it if they're in wealthy countries anyway.
Yeah, like Magic Johnson. He looks better than me.
But then unfortunately, the places where AIDS is rapidly spreading in HIV are the places that also are some of the poorest on the earth. Especially in Central Africa.
Yeah.
So they don't get as much attention, unfortunately. But it is good to keep in mind.
Now, do they donate any money or medications to them?
Does Glakso? I don't know.
They should.
Yeah, I think a lot of pharmaceutical companies do donate.
Oh, they do.
They do donate drugs, to help the problem. But I don't know, on this particular one.
It's probably a big problem right now.
Really, yeah, I just looked at them from an investor standpoint, not so much from the standpoint of a concerned citizen of the world.
So how do you feel about it?
Well, let's talk about the numbers. The PE is 18.2. Okay. The dividend is 5.25%. So we're talking a serious dividend. That's how pharmaceutical companies do it. They often put out a big dividend. But okay, it's important to look at the whole picture. The ROIC is 41.55%, which is out of this world great.
No, I was going to ask you about that because it looked bigger on finance.yahoo.com. Like it looked at it, well, it said 121%. Am I figuring it out wrong? Or?
Well, no,
no, that was return on equity. I'm sorry, return on
Yeah, okay. Return on invested capital
it's going to be
includes more than equity. Okay. It's equity plus debt.
Oh, 41's great, though.
It's great. That's a really good number. And then the P is only 18.2. So I see that right there as a huge bargain. However, there's more to the story. Right?
Always a catch, Tom. Always a catch.
The net debt to equity is 440%. That's way too much debt. Way too much debt. I mean,
440%.
You sneeze and you go under. It's a very.
Where is that? Where are they accumulating that? Is that in R&D or is that?
It's in making acquisitions.
Okay.
That's how they tag on most of that debt. The earnings are expected to increase 9% this year.
That's good.
Which I consider decent. All told, okay, I will say even with the debt way above, more than 7 times as much as I would like to see it, I still think that this is attractive. And I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
It's because of the pipeline and the new entrants into the market. These new drugs.
Yeah. I mean,
they're already proving that they're selling well. And so the fact that the return on invested capital is so high indicates that the management is good. Are you
going to take a shot on this one, you think?
I might.
I might venture with you into those waters.
I got to think about it, but I do like the value on this company. And I like the drugs.
And they have a lot in stage 3. I mean, I don't know how many of those will pan out, but I mean, it seems in a variety of, types of drugs, different types of drugs. So
yeah.
I like it.
I know, very diverse.
Yes, I was like, yes, this is exactly what I was
Drugs.
Drugs.
Have you ever seen?
Well, I pay for Humira, right? It's like $1,500 a month. Like, if that's crazy. Like for 3 shots.
Who makes that one? That's one of the big sellers.
That's Aduminal.
Yeah,
but now it's doing everything. It's doing Crohn's.
No, that's what it's. That's the name of it. But I mean, Humira is like one of the. Is it like a top drug for some company?
Yeah, it's a great drug.
I forget.
And it's doing a bunch of other stuff, a lot of autoimmune stuff. So
is it Gilead? Maybe.
No, it does. I think it's I have it in my house. I could
anyway, that's a huge selling drug, but I know it's coming off patent pretty soon. So it'll probably get cheaper for you then.
That'll be great. How many years?
I think it was this year.
Oh wow, that'll be great. But they're using it for everything now, so that maybe they're buying other years.
Maybe
with that,
maybe
because it's going for Crohn's.
I'd have to look at that company again. I think it's Gilead, but I'm not sure.
Really?
So I think we've about beaten this topic up in these 3 companies. Although there is much more to this sector.
James is sleeping.
James is
First
tuned
day
out.
on the job. No.
All right. Hey, thank you for listening. This has been a good show.
It was, yeah.
Pleased that you spent part of your morning with us.
Yes, invest wisely.
Thank you. We're all out of funny money.